Hello viewers, today's topic for discussion is inguinal canal. What is inguinal canal? It is an oblique intramuscular passage in the lower part of the anterior abdominal wall, just above the medial half of the inguinal ligament, right? So it extends from, let me explain from this diagram, it extends from superficial to deep ring, right? Canal means a pathway or passage. It is an intramuscular passage which which extends from deep ring to superficial ring. Now, what is deep ring? What is superficial ring? For this, see this diagram. I have drawn this rectus abdominis muscle which lies in the midline of the anterior abdominal wall, right? And here we have pubic bone. So this is the superficial ring. This is the deep ring. So this canal is called inguinal canal. Now, to understand this canal, we have to understand what is superficial ring now, what is deep ring, right? So superficial ring is nothing, is a triangular gap in the external oblique aponeurosis, right? It's shaped like an obtuse triangle, right? The base of the triangle is formed by the pubic crest, right? And the two sides of the triangle, lateral or lower, or medial or upper, right? These margins, they are referred to as crura, right? The two crura, they are lined by intercrural fibers. So, what is superficial ring? It is the gap in the external oblique aponeurosis, right? So, as we know that we have three extra abdominal muscles. Abdominal wall has number one external oblique muscle. Then we have beneath the external oblique we have internal oblique. Beneath the internal oblique we have transversus abdominis, and beneath that like the fascia transversalis, right? So superficial muscle, the outermost muscle is the external oblique. So superficial ring is the triangular gap in the outermost muscle aponeurosis, means external oblique aponeurosis. Now deep ring will be in the deepest one. So the deepest one will be external oblique, internal oblique, transverse abdominis. Then we have fascia transversalis. Then deep ring is the opening in the or gap in the fascia transversalis, right? Now boundaries. For boundaries we have to, this is the, now from superficial to deep ring it extends, and this I have drawn the content of the inguinal canal, which is nothing but spermatic cord in males or round ligament of uterus in case of females, right? Ilioinguinal nerve also passes through this canal. Now boundaries, we can compare this one canal as a like a cube which has 6 sides: roof, floor, anterior wall, posterior wall, and outer opening and inner opening, right? This is I have drawn the canal. This is superficial ring, this is deep ring. Two sides are done. This one anterior to this canal is the anterior wall, posterior to this is the posterior wall. Then above these arched fibers, this is the roof, below is the floor, right? So it's like this: roof, floor, anterior wall, posterior wall, and 2 openings, right? Now what I have drawn in this diagram I will show you. This is from outer side, this is inside. So first we have, this is external oblique muscle, this is external oblique aponeurosis, right? So this is the gap in the external oblique aponeurosis, the superficial ring. So this one is external oblique muscle aponeurosis. Green one is the external oblique aponeurosis. This is external oblique muscle. This is internal oblique. This is transverse abdominis muscle, right? Then this yellow one is the fascia transversalis. After the muscle transversus abdominis we have fascia transversalis. Then yellow one is the connective tissue. Then we have peritoneum, right? Now come to the anterior wall. Anterior wall is formed in its whole extent first by skin, then superficial fascia, then external oblique aponeurosis. In its lateral 1/3 it is formed of internal oblique muscle, right? Now posterior wall. This one is the anterior wall, this one is the posterior wall. So posterior wall is formed in the whole extent by, start from your fascia transversalis, right? Then we have extraperitoneal connective tissue, then we have parietal peritoneum, right? In its medial 2/3 we have conjoint tendon and a reflected part of the inguinal ligament, right? Now what is conjoint tendon? Conjoint tendon is nothing but, see, this is which muscle? Internal oblique. This one is transverse abdominis. These both muscles blend together and they form the roof and come towards this side to form the aponeurosis of both these muscles. They intermingle and form the conjoint tendon. So conjoint tendon is formed by the aponeurosis of both internal oblique and external oblique muscle, right? And now what is the reflected part of the inguinal ligament? For this, I have drawn one diagram. This is a pubic bone, hip bone, anterior part. So this is inguinal ligament, right? Inguinal ligament has different extensions. One is the triangular villus plexus attached to the pubic tubercle. Base is free triangle. This is called lacunar ligament. The lacunar ligament is extended backwards and form the pectineal ligament, right? And from the lacunar ligament, some fibers extend medially towards this linea alba, midline, right, to form the reflected part of inguinal ligament. So this is that part of the reflected part of the inguinal ligament, and this is fascia transversalis. Right, the posterior wall finished. Anterior wall is formed by skin, superficial fascia. Then we have external oblique aponeurosis, and in its lateral 1/3 we have internal oblique muscles. Posterior wall is formed by fascia transversalis, extraperitoneal connective tissue. Then we have parietal peritoneum, and in its medial 2/3 we have this conjoint tendon. Conjoint tendon is nothing but intermingling of aponeurosis of internal oblique and transverse abdominis muscle, right? And reflected part of inguinal ligament. Now roof. Roof is formed by, as I already told this, arch fibers of internal oblique and transverse abdominis fibers, right? Floor is formed by the grooved upper surface of the inguinal ligament, right? And at the medial end we have which ligament? Yes, lacunar ligament. I have already told you people, this is lacunar ligament. This forms a floor along with in the medial part, lacunar ligament, right? Now, what are the structures passing through this? I have already told you. A structure is the spermatic cord in the males and round ligament of uterus in case of females, right? And the ilioinguinal nerve also enters through the canal interval between external and internal oblique muscles and passes through the superficial ring, right? Now, what are the constituents of spermatic cord? This is very important. Sometimes question may be asked in the exams. What is this? The constituents of spermatic cords. These are ductus deferens, number 1, then testicular and cremasteric arteries, and artery to ductus deferens, then pampering complexes of veins, then lymph vessels from the testes. Then we have ilioinguinal, genital branch of genitofemoral, and plexus of sympathetic nerves around the artery to ductus deferens, right? So number 1 is ductus. Constituents of spermatic cord are ductus deferens, testicular and cremasteric arteries, pampering from plexus of veins, lymph vessels, ilioinguinal nerve, genital branch of genital femoral nerve, and plexus of sympathetic nerves around the artery to ductus deferens, right? Now, what are the coverings of the spermatic cord? I have drawn here a lot. This outer one. Outer one is external spermatic fascia, this green one. So it is formed by, outer one is external oblique aponeurosis. So external spermatic fascia is derived from the external oblique aponeurosis, right? It covers the cord below the superficial ring, right? So these are the coverings of the spermatic cord, right? First one is external. From outside to inside we have external spermatic fascia, which is derived from external oblique aponeurosis, right? Then we have cremasteric fascia, which is made up of the muscle constituting the cremasteric muscle, right? This here is a cremasteric muscle, this one is a cremasteric, brown one is the cremasteric fascia, right? It is made up of muscle constituting the cremasteric muscle, right? Internal oblique and transverse abdominis muscle. So this is cremasteric fascia, it is derived from internal oblique and transverse abdominis muscle, right? Now, this internal green wall is the internal spermatic fascia, which is derived from the fascia transversalis, right? From outside to the inside, these are the lyrics. If we count from inner side, from within outwards, these are number 1 internal spermatic fascia, which is derived from the fascia transversalis. Then we have cremasteric fascia, which is derived this brown one, which is derived from the it is actually made up of the cremaster muscle, right? It is derived from internal oblique and transverse abdominis muscle. The outer green one is the external spermatic fascia, which is derived from the external oblique aponeurosis, right? Now, there is a mechanism of inguinal canal. Because the presence of inguinal canal is a cause of weakness in the lower part of the abdomen, right? So what happens, the abdominal contents may come out from this opening, है ना? That causes abdominal condition called hernia. Hernia is nothing but protrusion of abdominal abdominal contents through the inguinal canal, directly, indirectly, or directly through a Haselberg's triangle. That will I will discuss later. So it causes weakness. So there are some mechanisms which maintain the stability so that the visceral parts, the inner contents doesn't come out of this canal, right? Peritoneal contents, right? Or abdominal contents, right? Number one is the obliquity of the canal. So the two rings, they do not lie opposite each other, right? They lie obliquely. They are not exactly opposite. They are not in a straight line, right? So when the intra-abdominal pressure rises, what happens? When these anterior and posterior walls, they become closer and they obliterate the passage. So this is known as flap valve mechanism. Then the superficial ring, it is guarded from behind by this conjoint tendon and by reflected part of the inguinal. So it also maintains this mechanism of the inguinal canal so that the abdominal contents does not herniate it out, right? Then we have deep ring. Deep ring is guarded from front by fibers of internal oblique muscles, right? Then when we have a shutter mechanism, this muscle, internal oblique muscle, has a shutter mechanism. This muscle, it forms the roof, right? Anterior wall as well as the posterior wall, right? Anterior wall we have already mentioned it in the lateral 1/3. It is formed of internal oblique, right? So internal oblique muscle is present in anterior wall, posterior wall as well as the roof. So when it contracts, the roof is approximated to the floor like a shutter. So the arching fibers of the transverse also takes part in the shutter mechanism. This is called shutter mechanism. Obliquity of the inguinal canal, that come under flap valve mechanism, right? They form the flap valve where anterior and posterior valves are approximated. Walls are approximated. Shutter mechanism is what? Internal oblique forms the anterior posterior wall as well as roof. So during the contraction of these muscles, the roof is approximated towards the floor and like a shutter, right? Now this contraction of the cremaster muscle helps the spermatic cord to plug the superficial inguinal ring, right? And this is called Bell valve mechanism, right? Contraction of the cremaster helps the spermatic cord to plug the superficial inguinal ring, that is called Bell valve mechanism. Now we have contraction of external oblique muscle results in approximation of two cruras of the superficial ring, and this is called slit valve mechanism, right? We have three mechanisms. Number one was flap mechanism, which was formed by this obliquity of the two inguinal rings. Therefore, when the intra-abdominal pressure increases, the both anterior and posterior wall gets approximated. This is flap valve mechanism. Second was shutter mechanism, which was formed by this muscle, internal oblique muscle, as it forms the anterior wall, posterior wall and roof. So when it contracts, the roof is approximated towards the floor and it acts like a shutter. Then we have Bell valve, Bell valve mechanism, right? That is nothing but when contraction of cremaster muscle helps the spermatic cord to plug the superficial inguinal ring. This is called Bell valve mechanism. And contraction of external oblique muscle results in approximation of the two crura of the superficial inguinal ring, and this is called slit valve mechanism. So whenever there is a rise in intra-abdominal pressure, as in coughing, sneezing, lifting heavy weights, all these mechanisms come into play so that inguinal canal is obliterated, its openings are closed, and herniation of the abdominal viscera is prevented. Right? Now, hernia. What is hernia? Applied anatomy of the inguinal canal is inguinal hernia. Hernia is, as I already discussed, it is the abnormal protrusion of the anterior abdominal wall contents, right? So when the hernia is abdominal contents through any of its wall, this is called external hernia. If it at times the intestine or omentum protrudes into the within the abdominal cavity, that is called internal hernia, right? Now we are concerned here with the inguinal hernia. Now for this we have two things. One is this one direct hernia and indirect hernia, right? Direct hernia and indirect hernia. Direct hernia is nothing but direct or oblique. When the abdominal contents come out through the hernial sac. In oblique hernia, the hernial sac is formed due to persistence of processes vaginalis, right, of the peritoneum, and the contents of the canal through the deep ring. When complete, the hernia reaches up to the scrotum, right? So the direct one occurs through the Haselberg's triangle. So Haselberg's triangle is nothing but, we have two types of hernia: direct hernia or oblique hernia, indirect hernia or oblique hernia, direct hernia, right? So indirect hernia means through this inguinal canal. If the abdominal contents protrudes through this inguinal canal, it forms the indirect hernia or oblique hernia, right? Now this oblique hernia is of four types. First one is vaginal. When the processus vaginalis remains patent along the entire length of this along the entire extent, the hernia reaches up to the base of scrotum, right? So this one is the vaginal hernia, when the processus vaginalis remains patent throughout the whole extent. So here the protrusion will extend up to the base of the scrotum. Second one is funicular, where the processus vaginalis is obliterated above the testis, but it is patent in the proximal part, right? One more is interstitial, where a diverticulum of processes extends between the layers of developing abdominal wall. For example, between superficial fascia and external oblique, or between external and internal oblique, or between fascia transversalis or parietal peritoneum. Now come to the direct hernia. Direct hernia is when the hernial sac enters the canal through the inguinal triangle of the Haselberg's. Haselberg's triangle is nothing but, it normally occurs in elderly patients due to weakness of muscle weakness. So Haselberg triangle, if we draw, come to this side, this is linea alba, right? Medially we have rectus abdominis, right? This is rectus abdominis muscle. Medially, let me draw this rectus abdominis muscle. Below we have inguinal ligament. This is inguinal ligament. This is rectus abdominis, and here we have inferior epigastric artery, right? Inferior epigastric artery. It forms the Haselberg triangle, right? If we draw in this diagram, here we have rectus abdominis muscle, here we have inguinal ligament, and the third side by inferior epigastric artery. So this one is the Haselberg's triangle. So abdominal protrusion of the abdominal organs, viscera, abdominal contents through the Haselberg's triangle is called direct hernia, right? It may be present in two varieties, lateral variety or medial variety, right? The lateral variety when the sac enter through the medial inguinal fossa, medial one when the lateral from the lateral, and medial when the sac enters through the supravesical fascia, right? Now it's important to note the coverings of the hernias, right? In case of oblique or indirect hernia, the coverings are from outside, from within outside. First one, peritoneum of the sac, then extraperitoneal tissue, then internal spermatic fascia. Here I have drawn, right, peritoneum of the sac. Then we have extraperitoneal connective tissue. Then we have internal spermatic fascia, right? Then we have cremastic muscle and fascia. Then we have external spermatic fascia. then we have dartus muscle outside, and then we have skin, right? These are the coverings from within outwards in case of oblique or indirect hernia. In case of direct hernia, we have peritoneum of the sac, extraperitoneal connective tissue, then we have fascia transversalis, right? Then we have cremaster muscle, then we have external spermatic fascia, right? Then we have dartus muscle, and then we have skin, right? This is for the lateral tract hernia. For medial tract hernia, we have peritoneum, then we have extraspermatic fascia, dartus muscle, peritoneum. First we have peritoneum, then we have extraperitoneal tissue, then we have fascia transversalis, then we have conjoint tendon, then we have reflected part of inguinal ligament, then we have external spermatic fascia, then we have dartus muscle, and then skin. This is in the medial tract hernia. That was in the lateral tract hernia, right? So let me discuss some differences between direct and indirect hernia. Like hernia enters through inguinal canal through deep ring. Hernia enters the inguinal canal through deep ring in case of indirect. In direct, it enters through the inguinal triangle of Heiselberg, right? Heiselberg's triangle. Let me write the Heiselberg spelling of the Heiselberg. H-E-S-S-E-L Hazel B-A-C-H apostrophe S. Heiselberg's triangle, right? Now, second is the neck of the hernial sacs lie lateral to the inferior epigastric artery in case of indirect hernia. In case of direct hernia, it lies medial to the inferior epigastric artery. Usually the indirect hernia, they are unilateral. Direct, usually they are bilateral, and I have already told you people, and it occurs in old age. Direct hernia, they run downwards, forwards and medially, and these are directed almost straight forward. This indirect hernia, the cause is congenital. Here in direct hernia, the cause is acquired, right? So, how to reduce this hernia? The pathway to how to reduce, if the abdominal content come out this way, reduce it in this way, right? So this is all about the lecture of inguinal canal and inguinal hernia. Thanks for watching.